everyone, Ms. Patsy here at Castile Innovation Lab. Today we will be studying the second grade science book, Pebbles, Sand, and Silt, Investigation 1, First Rocks, Part 2, Washing 3 Rocks. Question: what happens when rocks are placed in water? Let's find out. Our focus question for today is what happens when rocks are placed in water? First, let's think of a hypothesis. A hypothesis is an educated guess based on what we already know. So what is your hypothesis? Or what do you think will happen when we place our rocks in water? Once you have come up with your hypothesis, we will test it. We will use the 3 types of rock that we used in our previous experiment. We have the basalt, the dark, dense rock from molten lava. We have scoria, the reddish porous rock formed from lava froth. And we have tuff, the light colored soft rock from volcanic ash. Do you think that we will get the same result from all 3 rocks, or do you think each rock will react differently to being placed in water? Let's test it and see. First, let's start with basalt. Let's observe it up close, dry. And then let's place it in the water. Does it look different now that it's wet than when it was dry? It looks like it might be a little darker. I don't observe anything else happening to it. Now let's remove it from the water and place it on a paper towel. Looks very different than our dry rock now. Did the rock change when I put it in water? Is there anything you can see now that you couldn't see when the rock was dry? Did anything happen to the water? Let's look. Looks like there's some dirt in it. Where did the dirt come from? This could be pieces coming from our rock. Pieces of rock being washed off by water is another example of weathering. Now let's look at the scoria. Let's observe it up close. And then we'll place it in the water. What do you observe? I see bubbles coming up. Next, let's take it out of the water and put it next to our dry sample. Did the rock change when I put it in water? This one also got darker. Is there anything that you can see now that you couldn't see when the rock was dry? Now let's look at the water. Looks like little tiny bits of rock particles in the water. Now let's try the tuff. Here's the tuff up close and dry. Now let's place it in the water. What do you observe? I see lots of bubbles. And it looks like particles are falling off of our rock. So now let's take it out of the water and place it next to our dry rock. Did the rock change when we put it in the water? Is there anything that you can see now that you couldn't see when the rock was dry? Did anything happen to the water? This has a lot of residue in it. Where do you think the residue came from? Well, we saw that it was coming from the rock. What do you think happens to all of the pieces of rock that is washed off by water in a river or a stream? They float downstream until the stream or river ends at the ocean or at a river delta. That's why you find a lot of sand at beaches and where rivers end. Now take out your science journal sheet titled Rocks in Water and answer the question, what happens when rocks are placed in water? Circle which rock you want to talk about and describe and draw the rock out of the water. And then down below that, describe and draw the rock in the water. Once you've recorded your results, think back to your hypothesis. Were you able to guess what was going to happen to the three rocks? Let's look at our rocks again. Here's the basalt. The wet rock is on the left and the dry rock is on the right. And here's the water. Here's the scoria. Wet rock is on the left and the dry rock is on the right. And here's the water. And here's the tuff. This time the wet rock is on the right and the dry rock is on the left. And here's the water. Were you able to guess what was going to happen to the three rocks? Don't worry if your hypothesis wasn't correct, because sometimes scientists like to be surprised. In fact, I think that makes an experiment much more fun when something I didn't expect happens. Let's go over our vocabulary words for today. Hypothesis is an educated guess about what will happen. Basalt is the dark, dense rock from molten lava. The scoria was the reddish, porous rock from lava froth. And tuff is the light, yellowish rock from volcanic ash. And weathering is a breakdown of rocks and minerals on Earth's surface. And water washing off pieces of rock is a form of physical weathering. That is all for today. I hope you enjoyed our investigation. Until next time, have a great day.